Most people think they know who they are until life throws a curveball and they realize their sense of self feels like sand slipping through their fingers. Why does this happen? It's because of two hidden gaps of the self that quietly sabotage your identity. These are the reasons why people chase validation, live someone else's dream, and still feel empty inside. But once you understand these gaps, you can close them and finally step into a life that feels authentic and truly yours. It's not about fixing yourself, it's about rediscovering yourself. In the next few minutes, we'll explore the gaps keeping you disconnected from who you truly are, and more importantly, how to bridge those gaps for good. If you've ever wondered why you feel lost or out of sync with your life, stick around. This is for you. The two gaps in identity. Self-worth gap. This is the belief that who you are isn't enough as is. It's the silent undercurrent of doubt that whispers, "You're not enough in this world." This gap is the reason why so many people chase perfection or constantly seek validation from others. They're trying to patch up a hole that can't be filled externally. Without a stable sense of self-worth, it's impossible to trust who you are because who you are feels incomplete. Values gap. Even if self-worth is intact, being unsure of your personal values keeps you in the dark about who you truly are. Values are the compass that guide our lives. When there's uncertainty about our values, life feels like trying to navigate a big ocean without knowing how to steer the ship. You find yourself borrowing other people's beliefs or going along with the crowd just to avoid the discomfort of making your own calls. These gaps leave a person vulnerable to other people's opinions, to criticism, and to the constant pressure to be someone they're not. Together, they create a dangerous confusion about who you are. Origin of the gaps, the role of early mirroring. If you've ever wondered why self-doubt feels so instinctual, the answer lies in the earliest chapters of your life. How we come to know ourselves isn't something we figure out solo. It's something we first learn through others. What is mirroring? Imagine this. A toddler throws a tantrum because their favorite toy broke. The common occurrence is ignoring the outburst or scolding the child for overreacting. What if instead they crouch down, make eye contact, and validate the painful moment of the child by acknowledging their upset? This is mirroring. It's the process of reflecting back a person's emotions and experiences in a way that validates and helps them make sense of what they're feeling. When mirroring is done well, it becomes the foundation of healthy self-esteem and emotional resilience. It teaches us to believe in our emotions and develop confidence in our self-worth. But what happens when emotions aren't reflected back in a healthy way? Maybe due to ignorance or emotional unavailability. Or worse, they respond in ways that distort the child's understanding of themselves. Brushing off the feelings by labeling them as not a big deal, or undervaluing them by expressing the child, is being silly reinforces in the child's mind that their emotions are invalid and defective. And if there's emotional unavailability, the child develops a strong sense of invisibility. This kind of mirroring plants the seeds of low self-worth. Instead of developing a clear sense of who they are, the child grows up uncertain of their feelings, values, and identity. These early experiences shape the way people think, feel, and act as adults. Without realizing it, they carry the echoes of unmet childhood needs into their relationships, careers, and personal choices. They struggle to know themselves, not because they lack insight, but because they were never given the tools to build that insight at all. The impact of these gaps. Vulnerability to others' opinions. We begin walking through life with our sense of worth being tied to what others think. A single critical comment? It feels like a gut punch. A bit of praise? It feels like your entire day has been made. That's the exhausting roller coaster of being too reliant on others. When you don't know yourself, you're constantly scanning the room, trying to gauge how you're being perceived. This vulnerability to external judgment doesn't just drain your energy, it also leaves you feeling powerless. It's like trying to fill a bucket with holes at the bottom. No matter how much praise or approval you collect, it's never enough to truly feel secure. tendency to follow the crowd. When you're unsure of your own values and judgments, it's natural to lean on what everyone else is doing. If everyone seems to want the promotion, the perfect body, the glamorous relationship, you assume those are the goals you should chase too. But what works for the crowd does not work for you. This leads to a disconnect between the life you're living and the life you actually want. You might achieve the milestones, get the job, the partner, the house, and still feel empty because those weren't your milestones. They were borrowed. These gaps don't just create discomfort, they rob you of your authenticity. When you're shaped by external forces, you lose sight of what makes you unique. Instead of making decisions rooted in your true desires, you're reacting to the world around you. And that's not living, it's performing. But it's absolutely possible to close these gaps. For good. Path to Reconstruction. Closing the self-worth and values gaps isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about giving yourself the tools, time, and patience to rebuild the foundation that might have been shaky for years. Seek a witness. Healing often begins in the presence of someone who can see you clearly and respond with compassion. A therapist, mentor, or even a deeply supportive friend. These people act as mirrors, reflecting your emotions and experiences back to you without judgment. They offer a safe space to unpack the parts of yourself that feel confusing or fragile. This helps you do what your childhood may not have allowed, to feel seen, heard, and validated. Having this kind of a relationship in your life can be transformative. It reminds you that your feelings make sense and that your story matters. Practice self-reflection and emotional validation. One of the most empowering things you can do is to also become your own witness. Practice self-reflection, the act of tuning into your thoughts and feelings without immediately judging or dismissing them. When strong emotions arise, don't resist. Indulge. Label it as specifically as you can. And question what could be underneath this feeling, or what is something your feelings are asking from you. Once you tune into your emotions, validate them. Remind yourself that all feelings are valid, even the uncomfortable ones. This practice rewires your relationship with yourself, teaching you that your inner world is worthy of your attention and care. Use tools for self-discovery. Getting to know yourself can feel overwhelming. Where do you even start? Tools of self-discovery can be your guide in these uncertain waters. Start journaling. Write freely about your thoughts, experiences, and feelings. Self-assessments like the Enneagram or values quizzes can provide insight into what drives you and what you need to thrive. All of this is deep introspection, but without taking action on it, nothing works. And yes, taking action will always be the hardest part. But start small, say no to things that don't align with your values or energy levels. Spend time doing activities that feel meaningful, even if they don't prove anything to others. And most importantly, give yourself permission to be human. You don't have to have it all figured out to take the next step. This process takes time, and that's okay. Rebuilding your sense of self isn't about rushing to the finish line. It's about learning to enjoy the journey of discovering who you really are. Each step you take brings you closer to living authentically, and that is worth every ounce of effort. Why it's worth the work. Yes, the journey to self-discovery can feel like an uphill climb. There's discomfort, vulnerability, and a whole lot of introspection. But wouldn't you do it if you had the confirmation that it could change your life? Freedom from external praise. When you know yourself, your worth no longer hinges on other people's approval. Compliments feel nice, but they're no longer a lifeline. Criticism stings less because it doesn't threaten your sense of identity. You stop living for applause and start living for what truly matters to you. Resilience against rejection. When your sense of self is rooted in your own values and beliefs, you become less shaken by life's inevitable rejections. Instead of taking rejection as a personal failure, you can choose to see it as feedback, sometimes useful, sometimes not, but never as a defining statement about who you are. Rejection becomes less about worth and more about alignment. If something or someone doesn't fit into your life, it doesn't mean you're unworthy. It just means you're growing clearer on what does and doesn't belong. Originality and confidence. You unlock creativity and originality because you're no longer trying to conform to someone else's idea of success or happiness. You become confident in your quirks, your passions, and even your mistakes, after all. They're part of what makes you unique. Life becomes not about proving anything to anyone. It becomes about being yourself. Whether it's expressing your opinions, pursuing unconventional dreams, or embracing your imperfections, you'll find a new ease in simply being. Inner peace. The noise is quiet. That constant hum of self-doubt and second-guessing fades as you grow more certain of who you are. You're no longer at war with your own emotions. This peace doesn't mean life stops being messy. Challenges still arise, but you face them with a stronger foundation. You'll start to trust your ability to handle setbacks, make tough decisions, and stay grounded through uncertainty. Deeper connections. When you understand yourself, you can also understand others better. You'll notice a shift in how you relate to people, not from a place of seeking approval, but from a place of genuine connection. You attract relationships that are built on mutual respect and authenticity, rather than performance or people-pleasing. And all this brings the ultimate reward, a life that feels yours. You stop chasing everyone else's version of success and start building a life based on what you value. You trust yourself and your own worth, and there is nothing more powerful a person can have. So, if the journey feels long or messy, remember, every small step toward self-discovery is a step toward a beautiful life. Knowing yourself isn't just a luxury, it's the foundation of a life that feels true. It takes courage. Yes, it takes time. But every bit of effort you pour into closing those gaps brings you closer to peace, resilience, and joy that no external applause could ever provide. So lean into the discomfort of unlearning and give yourself permission to embrace the beautiful person you already are. Because at the end of the day, this is your life. Not theirs, not society's, yours. And the moment you stop performing for the world and start living for yourself, that's when the magic happens. Be sure to comment on what actions you're planning to take in reconnecting with yourself. And if you want to further heal this relationship with yourself, then watch this video right here. Always remember, Habitual Harmony is here to help you create an authentic life.